Hi everyone and welcome to the Southside Stars. I'm your host Zenobia Abrams and thank you for joining. Here we interview Atlanta teens and highlight the amazing things they're doing down here on the Southside. You'll hear from entrepreneurs, artists, activists, and so many more. Today we're welcoming Sydney Bowles, an amazing athlete right here in the Southside. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
So let's just hop right into it. What's your background like? You know, are you from Atlanta? Have you come here from another place?
Yeah, so I've grown up in Lithonia, Georgia. I've been here my entire life, same house for 17 years. I turned 18 in a couple days, so
Ooh,
yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so you're a senior and you've been at, Woodward Academy in College Park for so long. So how does that feel being a senior, getting ready to hop out?
It feels crazy. I know, when you're younger, you say you want to grow up so fast, but the years have really gone by very quickly. And I'm just trying to savor every last minute. I came to Woodward in the 7th grade, so it's been 5 really good years, and I'm just excited for the next chapter.
Yeah. And so let's kind of reflect back on, how it's been so far now that you're here. How did you know that you wanted to be in basketball? How did you grow up? Were you always athletic?
So I actually started off, I think for the most part, a lot of athletes will tell you they probably played soccer along with something else. Like I think probably majority of our school team, we all played soccer at some point. So I actually grew up playing soccer, tennis, and basketball. And if you ever speak to my mom, she will tell you that she wanted me to play tennis so bad. She would probably tell you that I would have been better at tennis. Like she loves tennis. We used to get up at maybe like 3 a.m. in the morning to watch like the Australian Open because the times are different. But what really kept me sticking to basketball, I think, was I had to come down to choose, because I knew that, if I really want to be great at one of these things, I'm going to have to quit the other one, just because it's just so time consuming if you really want to perfect your craft and things like that. So I actually had to sit down and really think it out. And I just had a moment of realization where I knew that I wanted to play basketball. And it was hard because I had played tennis probably for longer, and like my summers were really strictly tennis. I used to go to summer camp from May till beginning of August. And I had to call my coach and tell him that I was quitting, but my tennis coach actually still supports me. He comes to my basketball games sometimes, and so it was nice to have that support, even though I was quitting tennis. But yeah, basketball, I think, really has always had my heart, and so that kind of went into me sticking with it.
Yeah, I can imagine that's like so tough to make that decision.
Yeah, and my parents, because I quit piano too, and my parents were always big on, you have to take responsibility for your decisions. So me being, I think, like 10, 11, having to call these people and tell them, that I was quitting or things like that, it was really difficult in the moment, but I think it really helped me mature future-wise going on. So
yeah. And so that's such a huge lesson to learn at an early age.
Yes.
And how do you feel like, as you went through the basketball season, how do you feel like that helped you out, maybe?
I guess just taking accountability, self-accountability, and I think that kind of helps you take accountability for other people as well. And then just asking for accountability from other people, being, I guess, a captain on the team, sometimes people think there's more of a hierarchy, but there's kind of a point where you want people to, if you are in a position, critique people and give them constructive criticism, you want others to know that it's okay to give you constructive criticism the exact same way, because, we're all trying to grow, and everyone's on the same level. And I think that's really a lesson that I kind of learned from that.
Wow, yeah. And speaking of how you are captain, was that always like, I don't know, the goal for you? Were you always like, oh, I really want to be the captain, or how did you grow into that?
So it's been a really, I think, grand part of my journey just throughout my 4 years, because I think coming in as a freshman, being a leader is very difficult. Just, especially since me being in the position I was in, I knew that, everybody on the team didn't want to play basketball in college. So, you just kind of have to look at things differently, and then communication was a big lesson that I learned. You can't really speak to everybody the same way. I actually really appreciate my coach for helping me with that, because I think I really learned a lot just on how to communicate with other people and just making sure that I'm supporting them as well as giving them critique. And I think I really, whenever people ask me, you know, what are some things that I'm always trying to grow in, you know, they always think that you're going to say something skills-wise, but I always say leadership, just because it's a really good aspect to have as a leader. And it's really difficult. I think, you know, a lot of people think it's just the person with the most skill kind of takes on the role as a leader, but it takes a lot, and I think that's probably one of my most important things that I've kind of grown throughout my 4 years of high school.
Yeah, definitely. And so as you're saying, you know, that you're a leader, what do you think is the most, I know you said communication, but what else do you feel is really important for making a team cohesive, because it's not just you, you know?
I guess inclusiveness, just making sure that, you know, people feel heard and that people are respected. And I think specifically just having a group of people where, you know, you have seniors, juniors, freshmen, sophomores, so you have, you know, younger kids coming in who are new to the whole thing, and just making sure that as seniors you're welcoming and making sure that they're okay. But it's really easy, I guess, for me, just because we're all friends, you know, we hang out on the weekends and things like that. So it was never really just basketball for us. We really do care about each other, and that's a really important thing when it comes to a team, because when you have people that you know, they're like your sisters. If, you know, they're critiquing you or things like that, it comes from the heart, so you don't really take it that much, and I think that just overall helps the team chemistry as well as just everything like that.
Yeah, and I know that you mentioned that not everyone has that goal of wanting to go to college for this. You know, maybe it's just fun for them. Was that always your goal, though?
I think for the most part it was. Around the time, I guess you could say, I was 12 or 13, because I played basketball, but I didn't really know what I could do with it, you know, for a sense, because I had fun, I really liked doing it, but I didn't love it as much. I think I really started to say that I loved playing basketball when I was 16, and then I was just like, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to go to college for this, and then, you know, hopefully continue to develop and pursue professionally. So I think I would say around the time that I was 16 was really when I knew that I really wanted to continue out a career with basketball.
Yeah. And so when you were 16, were you still a freshman or were you a sophomore then?
Let's see. I think I was a sophomore because I turned 16. Yeah, I was a sophomore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 16, yeah.
Yeah, so basically I know that because we're both seniors, I know that was around the time when the pandemic hit, and it was a lot of changes. So can you speak a little bit about how that affected your season?
So our sophomore year, we actually got through right before everything shut down. So I think that was the year we lost in the Elite Eight. That was a tough loss, a really good team. But I think the uncertainty was more towards our junior year season. But it changed a lot of things, you know. I think we had like some shutdowns and quarantines and things like that, and more of a, you know, will we make it through the whole season when we have a season? So I think there were a lot of nerves that were built around that. But then just to see, you know, how my junior season kind of turned into what it did, and we ended up winning a state championship, I think that just made it all the more better. Just, I think we really persevered through that. Just being safe, you know, a lot of the times we had to make decisions, you know, we should just stay in, not go out as much, because you never know what might happen. And then certain times where you just had to make sure, you know, just being super precautious about everything. And I think we did a really good job with that, and it all paid off, so.
Yeah. And, you know, I know that it was a really tough time for people because of, like, you know, a lot of people were, at least from my experience, people were, you know, dropping out of the clubs that they'd normally been in and the sports and everything. So as a leader, how did you, you know, kind of help your team just, you know, stay focused and remember that this is what they all love?
Well, one thing, I think we constantly checked up each other in our group chat. I think we use it every day, so we still do. And that just helps, just communication throughout that. And then one thing that our coach did that was really, really good for us is that, you know, when we had like a break where like we couldn't play or anything, or like exposure to COVID, we got on Zooms and we did like these workout lessons. And what really kept us interested is that it wasn't like the same thing every day. So you have like a 30-minute where like it would be more body weight stuff, but then we have like Zumba and stuff like that. So it kept us really focused, and I think it kept the morale up as well. And I really appreciate it for that. It was a really fun time.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And I know that you said that there was some championships that were won the next year after COVID. So how did you guys kind of go from like this total shutdown and everything being gone away to a championship?
So I think my sophomore year, when we lost in the Elite Eight, we actually went to the Final Four, because that was the year that our boys won. We went to the Final Four and we went to the championship, and we had a moment of realization where like, you know, we should be here. You know, I think we didn't play our best game. We knew that, but with the talent that we had coming back in our heads, we kind of knew that from day one of junior year, we knew that we were striving for a state championship. I think previously junior year we were thinking more, you know, region championship and then let's see from there. But from day one of my junior year, the goal was a state championship. And I think we were just really, you could kind of see it in the practices. They were more intense. We were more focused. And then just along with COVID, I think, you know, you never know which game might be your last game of the season, just in case. So we were really giving our all out there. So I guess you could say it kind of gave us a little benefit, but with the trials of it. But for the most part, I think we really were super focused. You know, we knew from day one that that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah, and so just correct me if I'm wrong, but is that the championship that allowed you guys to be the first team from your school in about 20 years to win that?
Yes.
Oh, okay, wow, wow. So take me back to that moment. How did it feel learning that?
So it was really a full circle moment when we had won. It was a tough game. It was a team, we played Forest Park, who's in our region. So it was our third time playing them, and, you know, we were hearing off from the outside, you know, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And so we knew that it wasn't going to be a cakewalk, but I think we came in with the right mentality. But it was just, everyone was just so overflowing with emotion in the moment. It was just really nice to have won. Just seeing how, especially from going to my freshman year to junior year, how much we've grown and just finally winning. And, you know, a lot of student athletes, you know, they say that this is what they want to do, but actually accomplishing that, it just felt really great. And it was a really nice moment. Then I don't think we knew how long it had been until we started like hearing about it, and it was really nice to hear from that. And just to have my coach, who was on the team who won in '99, and to come back and, you know, be a coach and nurture us like she has, it was a really great full circle moment.
Yeah, definitely. And I was gonna ask, you know, was that something that you had already kind of worked out with your coach, or was it something that just happened because of, you know, the hard work that you put in?
Yeah, I think it's just something that kind of happened. And we had talked about it a little because from our defense that we run, we watched some of the film from when she was in high school and they ran it. So we knew around that time was when they had won, and then it kind of came about after, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and now I want to switch it up just a little bit to ask about, you know, I know that you're in November that you were committed to UGA. Congrats.
Thank you.
For that. And I wanted to ask, you know, I know that you're on social media a lot, and I wanted to just, you know, get a little bit of insight about how much of a role that plays and how much people know about what you're doing, just college-wise or in general.
So as far as, I think, social media that goes on with recruitment, a lot of coaches like follow you and see what you're doing and things like that. So I think it just brings another aspect of, you know, being mature and things like that, just making sure that you're being mature and respectful and all that stuff like that. And then just through coaches contacting you and things like that, it just grows throughout the years. As you keep progressing, then that progresses as well. But yeah, my decision to go to UGA, it took me a little bit of time. I guess you could say I was a little, I'm not too, I guess, as far as making decisions, it kind of takes me some time. So I think when I kind of knew that it was coming up that I was going to have to make a decision, I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to make one of the biggest decisions, if not the biggest decision of my life coming up. But it all worked out smoothly, and I'm really grateful to be committed to the University of Georgia.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And I did want to ask also about, you know, like, because you're from the South Side and that you live here, how does it feel that you're literally making basketball history in the area that you've grown up in? So how does that feel for you?
It feels really great. I think one thing that I really take away from it is just, you know, when, you know, younger girls or come to you and talk to you after the game, even younger boys, or they'll hit you up on Instagram and ask for, you know, certain tips or inspiration and stuff like that. And that really is what I think drives me. I just want to be you know, just somebody who people can look up to and say, like, I can do this too. And I think that's what keeps me going sometimes when, like, I'm having a rough day and I just kind of think about, you know, this little girl is watching you, so you can't really give up. And I never really realized the amount of impact that I could have on somebody until, you know, that moment happens. But I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And so, you know, talking about the little boys and girls that do look up to you, what advice now would you give them, you know, just to keep pushing and make sure that they're doing what they love?
One thing I would say is just make sure you're internally motivated. I think that is something that gets you through, you know, sometimes, and just continue to work. It doesn't matter, you know, if somebody's not seeing what you're doing right now, you know, it'll all pay off in the end. And just make sure that you love what you're doing, because I think a lot of people, you know, because they're good at something, they, you know, want to keep pursuing it, but you're never really going to reach your true potential until you're doing something that you love doing. And that's really advice that I would say.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it and love talking to you. Thank you so much, everybody that was watching today. I'm your host, Zenobia Abrams, reminding you, don't sleep on the South Side.